What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Morello Show. Seven? I think we're on seven. I like in the last
You
one.
should know better than me,
I
man.
should know better than you. I don't even. It's been a busy week for me, but we're here. First of all, before I introduce you, sir, I just want to say you see the Knicks hat. At the time of this recording, we are going for 10 straight against the Phoenix Suns. By the end of this, maybe we'll know. Actually, we definitely won't know. It's probably still the first or second quarter, but. Shout out to my New York Knicks. Shout out to especially Jake Kopstick and everyone hating on the New York Knicks for years. We're finally in a playoff run, so this is cool. And obviously the Rangers too. We'll see what happens. But my guest here today, sorry for the pause and introduction, but he's an esteemed guest, and I am happy to have him here. My good friend Nicky Ra. How you doing, bud?
Yo, I'm doing great, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. As I mentioned earlier, when texting you, I got my second shot of the
Mm-hmm.
vaccine.
Good shit.
Monday, it'll be obviously this will release on Tuesday, but yes, not feeling anything yet. Knock on wood that
Mm-hmm.
stays that way. I don't expect it to, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what
We'll see.
happens. But enough about me. This isn't about me. You guys see me every week. This is about you, Nicky Ra. As the people who don't know who Nicky Ra is, he is an artist. He is a producer in music. He does a lot of things, but I don't need you. You don't need me to tell you that. So, Nick, why don't you explain a little bit about what you do, genre,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that?
Yeah, so my name's Nicky Ra. I am a rapper, singer, producer, songwriter, engineer extraordinaire. Nah, but yeah.
I mean, yes. I
Uh
mean, yes.
yeah,
This
not
is
to toot
true.
my own horn, but yeah.
It happens.
And I mostly make hip hop, a little, like R&B pop twists, but I really make like a bunch of various different genres, various different styles. So yeah,
Yeah. Do you
that's
have a
me.
favorite?
Genre to make or listen
Yeah.
to?
We'll go with make first. Listen to second.
Hip hop, yeah, or
Hip hop.
both, probably actually.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah,
Okay. I
because
mean,
it's what I'm best at mostly. I think
yeah.
I'm a way better rapper than singer. I think I'm just a passable singer, but I think I'm a pretty good rapper. So,
Now, personally, from hearing your stuff over the last few years since we've been friends,
hmm
your singing has improved like a lot since
thank you.
we first met. Is that something like you're consistently trying to work on
Oh
more
yeah,
than even like your rapping techniques and stuff?
oh yeah. I mean, I'm always just writing is practice. Listening to music is practice for rapping, but for singing, I've been looking up like YouTube tutorials on like warm ups and different techniques, and I'm always researching and trying to improve my voice every day because I love singing, but I've never been like the best singer. So yeah, I've been just trying to get that stronger over the past few years. So
Yeah,
thank you for
I mean,
noticing.
of course,
I
of
guess it's
course.
working.
I mean, it's because with hip hop and stuff like that, like obviously it's a lot of rapping and rhyming and stuff like that, but you
Yeah.
still most of the time will have a hook to your song.
Yeah.
And a
Okay.
lot of
Well,
times,
writing for singing, I've always been good at. Just
okay,
hooks come naturally.
yes. But even like actually singing hooks, so you don't always have to get a
Yeah.
feature to sing your hooks.
Yeah.
Like, is that like something you've been trying to do with you,
hmm
like, and trying to improve singing, or is there any other reason that you've really been, wanting to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love singing just in general. But yeah, like that's also the reason I started producing myself and engineering myself is self-reliance. Like I don't want to rely on somebody to sing my hooks or mix my songs and da 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 da. Like if I can do it myself, I'm gonna do it myself. Saves time, saves money.
And it's just your vision of whatever you're trying to make,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
which is the biggest thing. Because I know, especially like obviously I've interviewed JJH and Miguel before that,
Mm-hmm.
and now you, and even knowing all you personally, like you guys want to have your own feel on your
For
stuff that
sure.
you put out, because at the end of the day, that is your product,
Yeah.
and that will be your livelihood at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Now let's backtrack a little bit. One of the things that I've asked Miguel and JGH, I'll ask you now, and I'm gonna ask probably every artist going forward because I'm always really, really intrigued by this question.
Right.
How did you get started like doing music? Because not everyone's just born doing music. Like
Yeah.
how did you get your start?
So I was like 7 or 8 when I started writing songs. Like I
Wow.
distinctly, yeah, pretty young. But I distinctly remember just being outside, playing outside, and just humming the song in my head. And I ran back home. I asked my mom for like a notepad, and I just started writing lyrics to a song. So that was like the first song I wrote. just from then on, every once in a while, a song will come to me and I write it down. And then over the years, I realized how much I love it and this is what I want to do with my life. So yeah, it just naturally
That's awesome.
snowballed from there. Yeah.
That's awesome. When you were like 7 or 8 years old and you first started writing, did you
Yeah.
ever think it would get to this point even?
I don't even think I was really even like considering it. It was just, it came so instinctively. Like I said, I was just humming a song and I was like, I just have to write this down, you know?
Yeah.
So, but there came a point in life where you got to be like, I got to get money somehow. What the fuck am I going to do? And I was just like, all right, this is the only, like, I love this more than anything. I'm better at it than anything. I might as well just do this as a career. So
Exactly. What age
yeah.
did that like kind of thought process kick in?
Like early high school, like 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty early. I mean, a lot of people don't even start realizing their, their passion, their goals until even in
Yeah.
their late teens, 20s, even beyond that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So when was the first like real like album? Because you do have an album coming out, which we're gonna get into in
Yes, sir.
just a second. Just a second. But before that, what was like the first like real album like you put out that you've been like full length project or even like a EP or something?
Well, my first solo EP was called Good Vibrations, and that was like 2017.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. I feel like every time I drop a project, I put so much work into it. I'm so focused on it, and I believe in it 100% that I want it to be like my first big project. But then I always look back and I'm like, that wasn't as good, or as I could have done this better. Da, 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 da. But I feel like Hayabusa was like the first project where I was like, this is like, I don't know, a new beginning. This is like, that's like my first big project. Like that's why I called it my album. Everything before was like a mixtape or an EP. That was my first like album because I believed in it so much. So
Yeah, and that came out last year for those of you who don't know. I think was
yes.
July around there.
July 30th.
July 30th. Okay,
Yes,
so under
sir.
July. Personally, my favorite project of 2020. That was
Wow.
amazing.
Whole year.
Listen, whole year. Now,
Thank you.
J. Cole and Kendrick didn't release. I'm just playing.
No,
I'm just
you're completely right. Everyone was kind of quiet, so I kind of had
no,
the music
but
space to myself.
regardless, there would probably be very, very few people that would have beaten that. So
Thank you.
yes,
That's
high praise for
wow.
me, high praise deserved. Talk to me a little bit about that process making that, because you mentioned that was your first like real project you were like really, really confident in.
Yeah.
Was it difficult to get to the point where you thought it was good, and like just kind of take me through like your whole process with making the album.
Right. So it was a lot of, first of all, it's a concept album. So it was working on, there was like a whole story behind it, and it was working on that, which was a completely new experience. But I think that really opened me up to experimenting with like new sounds and like really being a perfectionist with it. So, sorry, what was the other question you asked about it?
No, just kind of like the process of you like making the album. And you did mention you being a perfectionist. Like, does that have an effect on you making things like that?
Right. Yeah, no, it was I mean, COVID was kind of a blessing for that album, because constantly every day it was just trial and error. Like there was hundreds of songs, well, not hundreds, dozens of songs that really didn't make the cut for the album. I was so picky, and I would change little things and then listen to it and then come back to it on different songs. And I just really wanted everything to like come together perfectly. So I spent like so much time on that project, like just tweaking little things constantly over and over again. And yeah, like that whole process, like it was rewarding because I mean I worked my ass off, but the fruits of my labor, I was pretty happy with how it turned out. So
yeah, it was. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, for at least the people that I've heard from about enjoying it.
Yeah.
I have a favorite song on the album, really a favorite too. It's really a top two for me. It's Diamond Eyes. Obviously, that was gonna be number one because it's got Cam, it's got Philip, and fun little story. When we were getting ready for school night, our show that we had last March, before literally the day before like the pandemic hit and everything shut down. A couple days before that, we were out at Temple, which is where I went to school, promoting it. And you showed me that for the first time before we went out, and I was like, and it was unmixed too, and unmastered and all that. It was the raw version of it, just the recording. I was like, yo, I wasn't even expecting something. I was expecting, you spitting. I didn't know like kind of what Hayabusa was gonna turn into as a concept album, but I was still blown away. That was probably the first thing like that I've been like amazed. Just like it was, I have no words. It was great. That's
Thanks, man.
all time favorite of yours, at least for right now. And
And
then
what's the other
I'm
one?
totally not going to say this right, but Saleh Seklisi.
Saleh Ecclesi. Yeah,
Saleh
you were
Eklisi.
close.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
close with
Mhm.
my friend Wethu,
With two.
who will be on here at some point. So a little
Let's
sneak peek
go.
for
I can't
that. A
wait for
little
that
sneak
one.
peek for that. That's coming up. Um, both of those were insane.
Thanks, man.
What was your favorite to make though? Is what I was getting
Ah,
into.
to make those two were up there probably. I mean, Diamond Eyes. The process of Diamond Eyes was actually interesting. Like I made the beat to that song, and then a couple months later, I came back and wrote the first verse, and then a couple months later, I wrote my second verse, and then even more months later, I was at Cameron's house, and Philip just happened to be there. Cameron was getting on it, and I was like, "Yo, Philip, do a little verse, come on and sing." So like just the whole process of how long it came together, but like every couple months it would just get bigger and bigger, and that was really cool to make. So I think that was probably my favorite to make, but I don't
Yeah,
know what my favorite actual song is. I mean, that's up there, so it's hard to
right.
choose.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a lot, especially when you put all of your, time and energy
Yeah,
into making them. I also know I
yeah,
remember you saying that your computer would like literally shut down at you trying to make Diamond Eyes with all the
yeah,
tracks and stuff.
it would overheat and just like shut down.
It's insane.
Uh-huh.
That's
So
insane.
that was
Now,
fun.
what do you use? This is a little more of a technical question. What do you
Yeah,
use like to, produce and stuff like that? Like what software?
Logic Pro X.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's the upgraded GarageBand,
yeah,
kind of.
pretty much premium garage band.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
remember when
man.
I used to try to make beats on GarageBand when I was in like 11th,
Really?
12th grade. Yeah, you didn't know
You
that?
never told me that.
Yes,
Damn.
I probably still have it's in my basement. I bought a MIDI keyboard.
Right.
It was a Oxygen, I think it was 32 keys.
Mm-hmm.
And it had like the beat pads on it, and like I would try, and like I did that for a little bit, and I still have it. I gave it to Noah Drosner
Uh-huh.
for a little bit, and then I got it back. I think I lost the cord along the way though.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, little fun fact
I
that
did not
yeah,
know that.
they
Wow.
were. I can send you some after this. They're not
You
good.
have to.
I think I have
Oh my
one that was
God.
like maybe a little bit decent. Probably not
Why'd
though.
you stop?
Cause like I don't know, like I wasn't good at it, and like I was just distracted. I guess it was like senior year, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
got
kind of
you.
like it was fun though. I can understand why you love doing it.
Oh yeah.
It was a good time. It was a good
Mm-hmm.
time. But
But yeah, producing actually never didn't come naturally to me either. Like I had to work my ass off to get to where I am now with it. Like
well, actually, we can talk about producing for a little bit. When did you like start producing? Because I didn't even know you did that until like a year or two after we met.
yeah. I guess like playing around when I was like 13, 12, but like actually producing was like 15 around
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So kind of when
So
you started taking everything like more seriously
yeah.
with music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It kind of
Fair.
came with everything. So
Fair. Now,
yeah, man.
Hayabusa obviously was great,
Mm-hmm.
but you have something else coming out
Yes, sir.
1 week from now. One
Yeah.
week from now.
1 week
Talk to
from yeah.
me about your album.
So it's called Solstice with a U.
Okay.
Um, it's 14 tracks. There's two sides to it. So it's split up into the first half, which is 7 songs, the second half, which is 7 songs. And basically, Hayabusa was like this big over-encompassing story and chronological order and all this. And this is just like a collection of songs that I've been working on. So
Okay.
the first 7 are more like lo-fi, traditional hip hop, just me like rapping um, over like boom bap and stuff, classic hip hop. And then the second half is more like pop, it's more trap, it's more um, accessible, like radio friendly. So it's just split up into 2 different like styles with
Okay.
7 songs and then the last 7 songs. So yeah,
What was kind of the thought process of, making the A side, B side kind of?
I kind of figured that those are my 2 like main fan bases. Like those are, I feel like there's a big portion of my fans who enjoy, just me rapping over like 90s beats and like lo-fi beats and stuff. And then there's another part who likes when I do like catchy hooks over like trap beats and more like modern production and stuff. So I kind of wanted to please everybody with this project. Everybody's gonna come away hopefully with something that they like. getting
Yeah, I
something
mean,
out of it.
absolutely. It definitely sounds that way.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned, getting you had different fan bases, like different things that you do.
Uh-huh.
Do you get like a lot of feedback like that on people telling you like, I like, lo-fi specifically, or I
Hmm.
like, radio stuff
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah. People will like DM me on Instagram or like snap me and tell me like, oh, I love when you do these songs. These are the type of songs I like. You should do more of this. Da 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 da. So like, I'm always receptive to that. And even like a couple times I've asked on like Instagram, like doing a little questions thing, like,
Mhm.
what style do you like from me? What are your favorite songs from me? Just so I can stay in tune with what the people want, because that's a big part of it. Knowing your audience and what they want is like super important. So
No,
yeah.
absolutely. No, it's
Mhm.
great that you get feedback like that.
Yeah.
So more about Solstice. So you mentioned for Hayabusa, it was a
Yeah.
concept album.
Hmm.
What's kind of like the theme, whether it's A side is one theme, B side is one theme, like what are you kind of trying to project with Solstice?
Solstice. Um, a lot of vulnerability. I feel like being the most like vulnerable I've ever been on any of my songs here, like really talking about stuff I haven't talked about, a lot of my insecurities and fears and dreams. And I think it's just like me letting everybody into my mind, just like showing everybody really what's going on with me and what I've been dealing with the past couple of years. So I think that's the key word to expect with this project is vulnerability, openness, yeah, honesty, brutal honesty. Yeah.
Okay, fair, fair. And I love that. I love when artists, get off their own experiences and share them to,
Hmm.
the world. What kind of like, what made you want to do that with Solstice? Because it's not something you've done before, like you mentioned. Like, what was
Yeah.
the thought process behind that?
I like when other artists do it, because I'm obviously a huge music fan myself. And I think the best art comes from vulnerability and just laying it all out on the table and telling it how it is, and however people want to receive that, that's up to them. But just like giving it all, showing them your beauty and your ugliness and everything, So that's,
Yeah,
I feel like that lends to like the best kind of art. So I was like, let me do that. Hopefully it creates some of my best material. And I think it did. So
good.
yeah.
I am, looking forward to that, obviously. But I
Thanks,
mean,
man.
of course. But I like, when I hear artists share their, experiences, side of the stories, whatever you want to call it, like I have
Hmm.
so much respect for that. Like, when J. Cole, for instance, made For Your Eyes Only, I feel
Hmm.
like that wasn't the first like time he obviously opened up to himself. Like he's been pretty consistent with that throughout his career.
Hmm.
And for those of you who don't know, that's my favorite artist of all time. So that's why I'm using him as an example.
Hmm.
But when you listen to For Your Eyes Only, there's a lot of people that came away from that like, oh, that's his worst album. Like these songs aren't hits. Like blah blah
I
blah.
love that album because he's so
One of
vulnerable
my
on it.
favorite albums ever, because I listened to that and I went, holy crap! Like he
Hmm.
just laid everything out. The album was literally about. It was from his friend's perspective,
Yeah.
and then they grew up. J. Cole went on to be a successful artist, and this guy, he stayed in the streets, and unfortunately, it took him. And then the last
Yeah.
song you hear, he kept the song for him for his daughter. Like that was insane. But like
Yeah, man.
you take like you take away from that album, you're like, wow, like he really just shared a part of his life with me. Like, is that
Yeah.
kind of a goal for you too with Solstice and even any work you do in the future?
Yeah. It's actually funny you said that because a big inspiration for this project and a song that I cite as like vulnerability being such an important part to art is Sing About Me by Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if you're familiar with that song.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
That's, I mean, it's similar to For Your Eyes Only, where he's rapping from the perspective of people in his neighborhood and the experiences they've been through. And it's really vulnerable and raw. And I implore everybody to listen to it. It's a long song, but it's beautiful. Like it's one of my favorite hip hop songs of all time. And that was just a big, like every time I listen to that, it's just like I'm awed by him, his ability to like bring you into his world. You can see what he's saying vividly. And I just wanted to try that out myself. So that was definitely a big influence. And For Your Eyes Only. That was big impacts on this project. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Speaking of inspirations though, I know you mentioned, Kendrick and Cole for this project. Who have been some of yours overall in your life that you've taken to? You're like either you want to emulate them or like
Mm-hmm.
they're the reason why you wanted to do music?
Yeah. It's a difficult question because I'm like I've been exposed to like so much different music my entire life, and I've been like a sponge. So like from like rock to soul to jazz to funk to hip hop to pop, R&B, everything. Like I soak all that in. But I don't know, to name a couple, like a lot of like Joey Badass, Capital Steez, Flatbush Zombies, the Underachievers, like all of those guys were a big impact on me because I don't know if you're familiar with their music, but they kind of like revived 90s hip hop into the new era.
I
So
do know
like
Joey Badass.
yeah,
I'm not familiar with the other three
those
you
are like
mentioned
all
though.
his affiliates. They're called like
Okay.
Beast Coast.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind that guys were still making music like that. And that's what I like grew up on. So that was a big influence on me. Like otherwise I probably wouldn't have, leaned towards that type of hip hop. I probably would have done like strictly more modern stuff. So that was
Yeah.
definitely a big influence on me.
Yeah. And you mentioned other genres too. Like, is that something you try to use in your music? For example, I'm a big Queen fan, big Freddie Mercury
Mm-hmm.
fan, one of
Yep.
my favorite artists ever. Is
Yeah.
that something you kind of try to emulate too?
Yeah, and it's actually funny you said Freddie Mercury because he was a big influence on how I like layer my vocals on songs. Because I don't know if you know, but every voice you hear on Queen songs is just Freddie
Yep.
Mercury.
Yep.
He
It's
never
insane.
uses. It's just him layering his voice, and
Despite
artists
what the
that do
movie
that.
says.
What?
But I said, despite what the
Yeah,
movie
yeah, yeah.
says.
They got
Didn't mean
that
to
wrong.
interrupt,
That
but
bothered me. That was a big bother. That
yeah.
bothered me a lot when I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But artists who do that, where it's like huge layers that make the song sound so big and grand, that's like the biggest influence on me. Like I think that's my most important artistic trait is that I take that from other artists who, yeah, that's a big influence on my sound.
Yeah,
Artists who do that.
absolutely. Absolutely. You definitely, if you only listen to one genre, like as even not even as an artist, but like as a human, like you're just missing out on a lot of different
Yeah.
things. And not only that, like especially for
Mm-hmm.
hip hop was created in like the late 70s. So like it
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been around forever. It's
Yeah.
gotten its roots from other, from blues,
Yeah.
from, a little bit of rock, I guess, from,
Yeah.
a whole bunch of different things. Like if you won't like you have to expand your horizons. And I feel like, as an artist, that's definitely something you should, you have obviously considered too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. Now, one little bit last thing before we go. We still have a
Yep.
little bit of time, not too much though.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the late DMX. He
Mm.
passed away a couple weeks ago. Obviously, a
Rest
lot of
in
people
peace.
know about that. Rest in peace
Yeah,
to
man.
the King Rough Rider.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of talk about what he meant to you as an artist, because I know you were, a big fan of his too.
Yeah. DMX was so original. Like his delivery is something that you don't hear in like any other rappers. Just the way his flow went in and out, like it just instantly made my ears perk up when I first heard DMX. Like and his voice and his passion, you can hear him angry in every single line, and it really makes you feel like what he's saying. And on top of that, he was like a real poet. Like he even said it himself in like interviews and stuff. He wrote poetry before he wrote raps. Like he was a real like street poet, and you could hear it in every single song he made. So it's a real shame that we lost him, but
Yeah,
I'm happy he
absolutely.
was here and we got beautiful music to remember him by. So,
And just he, obviously he had his demons he was fighting, but
of course.
he just inspired like everybody.
Yeah.
That I mean, especially like after he passed, you heard all these stories about
Mm-hmm.
like I remember I saw one video because this is native to us as Philadelphians.
Mm-hmm.
He was a few years ago in Philly and just kind of jamming on the street and someone played his music loud from the car and you just saw him perk up and he was smiling and he was
Yeah.
singing along, obviously. And it just, I loved his music too. Like it's so sad, but I'm thankful for, like you said, like him being here and sharing his craft with us.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome. So May
Definitely, man.
4th for Solstice, is that right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
May 4th for
May
Solstice.
4th. Midnight, all streaming platforms.
All streaming platforms. So you got Apple Music, you got Spotify, anything you can think of.
All that.
All that. All right. Well, I am beyond excited for it. Nicky Ra, thank you so much. So
Thank you,
much
sir.
for coming on. As always,
Very
and
happy to be here.
I'm sure this will not be your last time. because
Oh, I
I
hope
got
not.
big plans to keep this moving forward.
Bet, man.
You
Makes me
got big
very happy.
plans to, keep rising to the top. So
Yes, sir.
it's only a matter of time. Plus, obviously, we're homies, so it's not like we go every day without talking because we go every day with talking. So
Uh-huh.
it's cool.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Appreciate you. Um, next week is the beginning of May, which
Mm-hmm.
is Mental Health Awareness Month. And Kevin Rice will be joining me for episode number 8. And we're going to be talking about some mental health stuff. Obviously, people deal with it even more so than you probably know. So we're gonna have a real discussion about that. And I am very much looking forward to it. Kevin Rice, good friend of mine. I don't know if you know Kevin Rice, but you should meet him
No.
very soon. I think you probably
Bet.
will meet him when I visit, on vacation to come home. I think you'll probably meet him.
Word.
That's all I got. I don't know if you got anything else.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Yeah, all I
I'm
gotta say
happy.
is look out for Solstice May 4th.
Yes, sir.
All streaming platforms.
Mm-hmm.
You will absolutely not want to miss it. So
Bet.
that's just facts. That's all I keep it real. I spit facts.
Thank you, brother.
There we go. Of course, of course. All right, that's it for episode 7 of the Morello Show. I don't know if I mentioned that I was your host, Kyle Morello, but I am. And I'm running out of steam here, so we're gonna wrap this up. All righty, I'll catch y'all next week. Love y'all. Thank y'all for supporting me as always. See you next time.
Peace.